David Rubin, welcome. You and I have been friends for a very long time. We have seen lots of changes. We were once upon a time very. I'm trying to describe what we felt.
What were we, Ayaan? What were we once? Hopeful?
No, we were. No, we were very depressed once upon a time. Do you remember those days when we got presidential election after parliamentary election that yielded more wokeism, more negativism, more Islamism, and it was that time when we thought, well, it's all over. And now we find ourselves post January 2025, and here we are. And it looks like there's a great deal of hope, and so all that fighting and struggling we were doing paid off.
Well, before I talk about how it paid off, let me give you a little credit for a moment. I know I give you credit every time you're on the show and when you're not on the show, but when I've been here walking around, a lot of people credit me for leaving the left and doing it publicly and sharing my story that's been, so congruent with so many people these days who have seen the dangers of wokeism. And regardless of countries, there's 96 countries represented here. And I'm meeting people from literally all over the world who have gone through the exact same journey that you and I have gone through. And we came from very different parts of the world. But I will say that, when I was starting to wake up to what was going on with the left and what we now call wokeism, you were one of the few voices that was somehow allowed a little bit into the mainstream, maybe mostly through doing Bill Maher's show or something, but you were able to get in enough to say the truth, to show people, oh, there are people who think like me. And then I suppose I became one of those people, and now there's many other people like that. So it really is a wonder. It's a beautiful thing, because removing us and the ego from it for a moment, because it is nice to get those accolades, it shows you that if you stand up for what you truly believe in, if you do what's right, it actually can start scaling, that other people are out there and they're just waiting for a signal in the system. So when I saw you, I think for the first time, gosh, I don't even know what year, it might be 2014 or something, on Real Time, and I thought, wait, she's explaining what I'm thinking. And then it helped me along my journey. And then someone else was watching me maybe 2 years later and said, oh, Dave is saying what I'm thinking. And then you take someone like Jordan Peterson, who has put this all on steroids and quite literally changed the world. So I'm unbelievably hopeful right now. I think even in the year and a half since the last ARC conference, the last ARC conference was October of 23. It was right after October 7th. There was a feeling of dread. There was a real feeling of, oh my God, is the West about to collapse altogether? And now you flash forward a year and a half to now, end of January basically, into February of 25, and post-Trump, there's a feeling of hope. So look how quickly things can change. It's extraordinary.
I think in the past I used to talk in paragraphs, I still do. But I was talking to audiences who I thought were way more informed about Western civilization than I was, who had lived themselves, read the books, listened to the music, maybe whose parents and grandparents fought the wars. Now we're talking to Gen Z, younger generations, I think, whose education was compromised, who, in terms of life experience, they're still quite young. And then in terms of their knowledge and appreciation of Western history, they've only been told the bad stuff. So to summarize it for them, I think it's so important to go and do what J.D. Vance has done, Vice President J.D. Vance, country and creed and critical thinking and common sense, and really spell it out for the younger generations what it is that we are fighting for, not so much what we are fighting against. I think it's what we are fighting against is quite clear. It's what we are fighting for. Yeah. So 1 second. Yes.
No, so the shift that I think we have to go through now, I think that's what you're pointing to, which is for a certain period now, these last 5 years, let's say, We've fought very hard against the woke. That's what the rise of Trump was, but it was also exposing nonsense as it related to the media lying to us. It was going through COVID. It was the Russia hoax. It was all of these things. We were constantly fighting against something. Well, now the culture has shifted. It's a true miracle in a certain sense. But the way most people are looking at the world, at least from an American perspective, but I'm seeing a lot of it in other countries as well, there's been a shift. So now how do you, in some sense, it's easy to fight against something, right? It takes a little bravery, and sometimes it's not that fun, but when you're pushed into a corner, your biological, I think it's a physiological reaction eventually is to push back. Well, now we're not pushed into a corner. Now we're sort of on the winning side of things. So what do? We have a lot to do. We have to build new institutions. One of the big things here has been, should all the institutions burn, or can we salvage some of them? We'll see. I think some will survive, some will have to go down. We'll see. But we need almost, in some sense, we need new everything. Think, the idea that Americans have grown up and been taught that America is bad. The greatest, most precious experiment in the history of humanity that has freed more people, that has been the dream of, for me, it was my great-grandparents on both sides that came with nothing. And it was better then for my grandparents, and then it was better for my parents, and now it's better for me, and it'll hopefully be better for my children. That's the unbreakable bond that I want to make sure stays unbreakable. And that so many people have been taught that you should feel guilty about this, or you should feel guilty about your skin color, or that all cultures are equal and nothing is ever better or worse than anything else. We have something to build right now. I'm very excited for that, because it was enough of the other thing. It gets exhausting at times. There's been plenty of times that for the few times I see you per year, a couple of years ago, we'll bump into each other and it's like, this is kind of exhausting. But now there's a feeling of, we're winning. And now let's really do something with it. And that's wonderful.
And we are winning in America. We have this amazing energy. We have this consciousness that it's also not just about what we fight against, but what we are fighting for. In other words, the articulation of the creed, the Constitution, America's history, America's legacy. There's just so much that we are getting right in America. What do we say to our European friends and our European friends?
Well, one thing that's been very interesting,
and families.
One thing that's been very interesting to me here is we all sort of know it, but when I'm hearing everybody say the same thing here, which is, America, please lead us. I'm American, so I've never looked to another country and said, lead us. It would almost, from an American perspective, it would almost be absurd to look to Britain. Britain, please lead us, right? It sounds kind of crazy, or any other country. But everyone here, from the Australians, for sure, they have major problems. The Canadians, of course, but Germany, everybody is saying, because of Trump, there's now hope in America. That means we have hope. That's a really interesting proposition. It also shows you that whether you like it, there's always a leader in the world. And America pretty much has to be that leader, or we're going to end up in a very dangerous time. So I'm very hopeful that, for example, these German elections next week, we'll see what happens. But could they have their own Trumpian-type movement? Could we get some sort of resurgence or a surge in the Reform Party here? Or can they figure out how to make the Conservatives in the UK a little bit tougher? I'm very hopeful for all of that. And we'll probably get some wins and some losses in that, right? We'll probably get a couple countries will come along and a couple won't.
And all the bad money coming through USAID and other channels from America and disrupting and corrupting some of the politics here in Europe and other parts of the world is going to stop.
Oh, well, it has to stop. And, obviously I love what Elon is doing, and I've gotten to know him a little bit and I've sat with him at Twitter and seen the way he works in the middle of the night and never stops. And to see that he's applying that to the government, it's so interesting. We forgot that things could work. We really did. If you look at the last 4 years of America, we were led by a man that either had dementia or was compromised one way or another cognitively. And then we were told we have to then take this woman who clearly was not competent and ready to be president of the United States and had no grand vision for the country. And but it was all happening in front of us, and we didn't know what to do with that, right? We didn't. It's like the media lies to us about everything. You don't know what to do with it. You just think, oh, this is how it all is. What we're learning now is it doesn't have to be this way. And what I mean by that is we don't have to have a authoritarian government that lies to us about everything. What we're getting with Doge right now, I've never seen anything like this. They literally are taking screenshots of the corruption and posting them on Twitter in real time, showing us what the problems are. So for whatever concerns people might have about the influence that Elon has as an unelected official or whatever, at the moment, if you have the Renaissance man of our time, who could be spending every minute of his waking day getting us to Mars and elsewhere, who wants to make life interplanetary, who's working on Neuralink so paraplegics will be able to move things with their mind literally, building underground tunnels to deal with our traffic problems, Tesla, I mean, it goes on, right? Starlink, all of these things. And he's spending some time with the government. I don't know if he would even want me to say this, but I was in DC last week. I texted him. I said, I assume you're here. Do you want to get together? He said, we'll try throughout the day. So we texted throughout the day. It was 1 a.m. and he was still working at that point. He said maybe later. 1 a.m. We have to take advantage of this moment. Great people are coming together right now. It's incredible.
I really would like for Elon to finish, what he's doing now as Doge, do it as well as he can, and then go back to taking us to Mars.
Wouldn't that be?
Because, that's really the goal.
I don't think he wanted to become a government employee.
No, but you know what he's done? I mean, he's done so much that, and gosh, I really love the man. I really worship him. I love Elon. What he has done also is that he has opened the way for other people in the tech world, in the science world, in the corporate world, not to just sit back and complain about how badly things are run in Washington, but to themselves come in and change things. And I think that is hopefully a lasting change.
Well, that's one of the most interesting things about what's happening right now, because if you think about it, the tech bro class, as they call them, they should have never been wokesters, because the tech people want to build things, right? They're largely libertarian, actually. They don't want a lot of government involvement in things, and they want to innovate and build things. So you don't want a lot of government involvement. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, it shows you how corrosive wokeness is, that the people who are innovating the most at a technological level, they got the woke mind virus. So, we're suddenly seeing them come out of that stupor. But to me, if you have some of the Palantir guys helping Trump, that's good. If you have Elon helping, that's obviously good. If you have someone like David Sachs helping with crypto and AI, that's good. So, I saw Mark Andreessen, all of these guys. I saw Bobby Kennedy a couple weeks ago at a dinner, and what he said that struck me the most, he can always talk about seed oils and all that stuff, but what he said that I thought was most interesting is that he said in all of his years of public life, he has never seen this many industry leaders and millionaires and billionaires, and it's not about the amount of money they have, but people who have accomplished things, big things, saying, what can I do for my country?
I have seen it. So in like the last 20 years at least, I have seen these industry people, I've heard them complain and say Washington is badly run, but they wouldn't do anything other than write a check to someone they thought would bring about the change. I didn't really see them actively getting in themselves and rolling up their sleeves and getting in the mud and slime and swamp of what is politics. I was in politics. It's a very unpleasant environment, and you needed these people to not write a check, just get in themselves, and I think that's a good thing.
No, it's an incredible thing, but that also tells you the severity of the moment. These people, many of these people have more money than you can possibly ever imagine. They can do things that even you and I cannot imagine with their lives. They can fly anywhere for lunch, and they can stay in the most unimaginable castles, and they could disappear. And by the way, who also could? Donald Trump. He doesn't have to do any of this. He could have. So there's something, and I think that's fundamental to the moment right now. People who could check out, who have all of the ability to check out, have checked in. So what is bringing us all together? Well, it's the things that you've been fighting for your entire life.
It's citizenship. It's what this organization is about, the Arc for and the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, and it is this. I keep thinking, the rich people. Of course, they can write a check and think that's going to do the job, but no, it's not writing the check. It's really getting in yourself. Sometimes citizenship means you have to go to the frontier, and I think this is what makes me hopeful, is that patriotism expressed in citizenship is now re-emerging, and it's a good thing. It makes me really, really optimistic. What also makes me optimistic is that we can talk about the creed, Judeo-Christian creed, on which I think in America it's much more explicit, but even in Europe, people are coming out and becoming less maybe shy, or they're reviewing the lives of the previous years and finding, we threw the baby out with the bathwater when we threw out Christianity, and we're going to give it a second look. What do you think of that?
Look, this is something that you and I have talked about for a long, long time, and I think one of the unfortunate mistakes, let's say, of the classical liberals was to think that it could stand up on its own without any previous foundation, that somehow everything came out of the Enlightenment and there was sort of nothing before the Enlightenment. I think that's where I mean this by the good liberals. They failed. I'm not talking about the progressives. That's a different thing. And I think what's happening right now, your life journey is a very congruent example of that. Is that I think your beliefs, as far as I understand, are probably as classically liberal as ever in public life, and now you have a religious or philosophical underpinning behind that. And I think at least at the societal level, we need some version of that. I'm not for forcing anyone to convert or anything like that. Obviously, you wouldn't be either. I want minorities, whether it's religious minorities or obviously gays or whatever else, to be respected and treated equally under the law. But I think we can't disconnect something as it pertains to belief and God completely from the political system, because we see what the erosion process is, and it happens pretty quickly. It's a weird thing for, I think, the liberals to come to, but I think even someone like Richard Dawkins has repeatedly said he's happy he lives in a Christian society, and then of course he'll say he wants the society to be a little less Christian, which is bizarre. But I think even Bill Maher probably believes some version of that as well. If you want to be an atheist, you're going to need some of the protections that usually Christian societies will offer you.
Yes. Usually, to the extent that they're Christian anymore.
To the extent that they're Christian.
Yeah, I think.
What Christian society that exists on earth today are they persecuting atheists? None that I know of. In what Christian society that exists on earth today are they persecuting gays? None that I know of. Now, there's other religions that they are doing that. Most people get very uncomfortable when you talk about that, but that's the fundamental difference.
That is the fundamental difference. And on that note, I think that the whole, how do we talk to Gen Z and what do we say to them, is we can now say to them, country, creed, common sense, critical thinking, all of these good things, and it makes me very optimistic. Thank you very, very much for coming to Courage.media.
Oh, well, it's always great to see you, and how cool we're on the other side now. Let's see what happens.
We are on the other side in America. Yeah, so we have a lot of fighting to do in the rest of the West.
I will keep fighting as long as you do.